Good afternoon, dear students. So, welcome to AJP session. Last time, we started our discussion with hypernet. So, before I begin today's discussion, can anyone tell me what do you mean by hypernet? What do you mean by hypernet? Anyone? Can I have the answer? What is hypernet? I see so many students here. So, I hope you were present in the last session. Can you tell me what is hypernet? Anand is saying ORM for Java. ORM stands for what? Anand, can you unmute and tell me what is ORM? You are right. ORM solution for Java. But what is ORM?
Object relational mapping.
Yeah, exactly. Object relational mapping. And what is object relational mapping? Simply Hibernate. Simply Hibernate will not be the answer, but ORM solution is the correct answer. So we say that object relational mapping basically it is needed in data oriented web applications. Fine. Whenever we have any web application, we know that 90% of the web applications are revolving around the data. Right. So when we have something which is data oriented, such web applications need to have mapping of your Java objects with the relational database management system, or you can say relation table. Fine. So whenever we have relation table, all our Java objects, we will map with that. Okay. So that's called ORM. Right. And I gave you an example where we discussed that if we have radbus.com, then bus is an object, passenger is an object, ticket is an object, right? And we said for all this, we required the tables, right? So Hibernate is such a solution which reduces the 90 percentage time or 90 percentage work of a developer in the context of database related task, right? So that's why we said it is ORM. O stands for object, where objects are your Java classes, right? And R stands for relation, where relation means your data table. Okay. What are the advantages? What are the advantages? In examination, somebody can ask you, what are the advantages? This is what we discussed last time, right? Can anyone tell me the advantages? Advantages of ORM. Faster performance, Vishal. Or advanced technology. So by default, we will say it is faster performance. Is it like that? What we have there as an advantage is it gives us the mapping in the terms of XML files, right? So if you want to do any changes or any query if you want to write, you are revolving around your XML files, right? So maintenance point of view, it will be easy. Maintenance point of view, it will be easy. Fine. Okay, you're getting the point. Apart from that, we know that in market there are so many databases, right? So it provides you an abstract way to deal with your unfamiliar SQL types. You know that there are many SQL, there are many databases in the market, and each of them is differ from each other in the terms of data types. So if you are a developer, you are a programmer, and you are working with the different data bases, you need to be familiar with all the data types. Fine. So that is the disadvantage of any database oriented application. But Hibernate provides us the mapping in the terms of HQL, which we are going to study today. And there we will learn that HQL is giving you an easy access or easy way to map your Java data type with your SQL data types. Fine. So that is the major advantage. Another thing is it provides a simple querying technique. It manipulates the complex association of object easily, right? Because we are using XML, so we are avoiding the complex associations which are arising in the terms of object connection. Fine, fine. So these were the few advantages. Apart from that, we learn about architecture of Hibernate. Can anyone tell me which are the major objects? Architecture of Hibernate. Major objects. I discussed 6. Can you go with few? Hibernate classes. So in short, I'm talking about the, yeah, Anjali is saying configuration query session. Very good. These are the few. 2 more we discuss. Session factory, right? Do you recall that? Session factory, transaction and criteria. So these are the few objects which are available with your Hibernate, and you can work with that in order to develop your application. Fine. So let me share my screen and let me show you the things again. Apart from that, we discussed that there are 2 mapping files available. Can anyone explain me those mappings? Hibernate mapping. Hibernate mapping files. We talk about 2 XML files. Can you explain that? Anyone? Do you recall that? I created a NetBeans application and I made you to have the connection with your database. We got a message connection succeed. Have we got that? Have we got that message? So we created an hibernate.cfg. Okay, hibernate.cfg, which was an Hibernate configuration file. Okay, another file which we created was HBM, Hibernate mapping file. Do you recall that? Guys, just a second, my system is not getting connected. That's why I'm just verbally revising the last session. Hope it will get connected soon. So I was talking about the configuration file, and last lecture we discussed that Hibernate.csg.xml is the configuration file, and it allows you to use your Hibernate your database related configuration such as driver name, dialect, username, password of your database, right? And you can go with that. In the terms of implementing it per application 1. So if your application is having single database management system, suppose it is working with the MySQL, will have one CSV file. But if it is working with two different database management systems, in that case, we will have two different CSV files, right? So CSV file depends on how many databases you are working with. If you are working with two, you will have two different databases available for, two different CSG available for that. Similar way, your mapping file, we call it as an HBM. So your HBM files are dependent on how many objects you have in your application.
Hello, 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 hello.
Am I audible? Hello.
Yes, possible.
Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm so sorry, guys. Here some setup is going on, so that's why LAN is getting disturbed again and again. I hope I'm audible now. Am I? Okay. So I was talking about the HBM file, and I said HBM file will be per object one, because each object we will save into the different table or a relation. Fine. So that's what we were discussing. Now give me one more second because it's not connected. Like right now I'm connected or using my mobile data. Anyone having good connectivity so that I can send the PPT and he or she can share the screen? Anyone? Or I'll do one thing. I'll share my mobile screen. I'll take the PPT in mobile and I'll share my mobile screen. It's really creating trouble from 2 days. I'm so sorry, guys. It's still not connected. I'm trying hard from longer. Okay, anyways, so we were talking about the Hibernate. So can anyone of you list out few data types of SQL? Can you list out few data types of SQL? Do you have the idea about few data types of SQL? Because I
Date.
want date, okay. Then where care, okay. Then number is an Oracle data type. You're right. Then then
Text.
timestamp is also a data type. Do you know that? Timestamp is also a data type. So there are many data types, and each of these data type will be mapped with your data type of Java objects. So there are two different things. The thing number one, which we have is we have our Java objects, which is having the data type. And we have our table in the database, which is having the column type. So when we are doing this mapping, we have to be sure that we map each and every object property with appropriate column type of your relation. Relation means over here table. Fine. So with the HBM file, we do that. And yesterday I said you that we will be discussing the HBM in detail. So we are discussing that right now. We're discussing HBM in detail. So when I am having the HBM, the basic idea is to connect your file with a particular, or you can say your particular Java object with your database table. Fine. And as I told you, we will have multiple HBM files. So today we are going to discuss 2 points. First one is how we can go with the mapping. And the second one is how we can go with the particular, avoidance of your mapping file. Because in few of the application, there could be more than 25 objects. Think about our college software, our ERP. How many objects we have? We have a student, we have faculty, we have book, we have exam, we have classroom, we have fees, we have hostel, we have room, we have lab. So there are so many objects, if there are so many objects, and if I'm doing the mapping, you see here, what I will do is, for each and every Java class, I required one HBM file, right? So for example, this is student.hbm.xml. As many object as you have, that many Hibernate OR mapping is required, and that many XML document for object relation mapping is required. Fine. So usually the mapping of this document, which is your XML, is Java centric. It is Java centric. What does it mean? It meaning that the mapping which you are doing right now, it is around your persistent class declaration. Now, what is persistent class? When I create any object-oriented applications with the relational database management system, there would be few classes which object are going to be stored as a row of your table. So the classes which are going to be stored as an object of the table, we call it as a persistent class. Are you getting the definition? Persistent class means the object of a particular class is going to be stored inside a database table. Look at here. I have a class employee. Can you see that? Class employee inside the package com. So I have public class employee having the data property. Mind well, this is Java data type of the data members of class employee. Private integer ID, private string first name, private string last name, private integer salary. Fine. So when I say I have a persistent class, usually the persistent classes are going to be saved inside the object of this employee. I'm going to save inside the database. Fine. So your persistent class, which in the other terms is known as POJO, P-O-J-O, in the terms of Hibernate. We call it as a POJO. So POJO is usually a class which is known as plain old Java object. And this plain old Java object is used in the mapping with your relation. So these POJO class are also known as the persistent class, because persistent means permanent, and permanent means we are going to save inside a table the object of the class employee. So this class will not have any business logic. It will simply have default constructor, at times the parameterized constructor, and only the getter and setter method. Can you see that? Public integer get ID, return ID, public void set ID, which will take in the argument the ID, and we can assign it to the current object. So we say this dot ID is equal to ID. Similar way, get first name, and get salary, set salary, get first last name, set last name. Only the getter and setter methods are there. Now, look at here. This is my project. This is my Hibernate project. Hibernate can be applied in the desktop as well as in the web application. Yesterday, we created an Hibernate application, and there we created a CFG file. Can you see this CFG file? Hibernate configuration file and the mapping file. Yesterday, I have shown you how to go with the class mapping file to be done with your system, right? So if I have a class, there will be mapping. So I'll be specifying the configuration as a root tag of your CFG, and in session factory, I will have keep on adding the mapping file. Suppose I am adding one more class which is named as product. I have employee class as well. I have another class which is named as product. So for that product class also, now product will also be a POJO class, only getter and setter method. So I need one HBM file, product.hbm. So these HBMs, when we are creating with the help of let me create wizard. This is product. Let us assume this is with the getter and setter method. Now you see here, I'm right clicking, going to new Going to other, I'll choose Hibernate. I'll say mapping wizard. Mapping wizard. I'm giving next, right? It is asking me the name. I'm mapping for product class. So I'll say product.html. I'll give next, right? It is asking me class to map. So I'll select the class and you see it is giving me product, right? The one which we created. So I'm selecting that, and from from the database, it will give me all the tables. Right now in my database, I have only one table employee. So it is giving me that. So it's fine. I'm just simply selecting it. I click on finish. Look at here. It has given me the SVM file. Can you see this? SVM file is the Hibernate mapping file, which is having the tag class. It is talking about the class name. Class is the product, which is inside the package com. So it is com.product. Okay, here you see package name dot class name com.product. Then I'm mapping it with the certain table. Right now I have only one table, so I mapped it again with the employee. Otherwise I would have mapped it with product. Right now, this I can make as a paired one, right? And now I can set the properties of this class. So you see here, we're talking about mapping file. This is for student, right? What it will have is the mapping document is the XML document. Hibernate-mapping is the root element, and class is the corresponding class which we are going to map. So class will have name and the table attribute, which I have shown you, name and table. As well, we can give the further attributes such as ID, Can you see here ID, right? Usually when you specify ID, right, you can give a name. Usually ID will be the primary key of your table. Fine. And you can take generator. You can take a generator and you have to specify the generator class name, right? There are many. You can go with any of them. Assigned, native are the few examples. Now what it will do, what the generator class will do, generator class will generate the value for the primary key. It will generate the value for the primary key. Fine. So over here, ID is talking about the product property, product class, product.java, and its data member. So I can map it with a certain column of the database. Usually in Hibernate, we keep the name same. If names are same, then no need to specify the column. Otherwise, you can specify the column name. Fine. So this is how we do the mapping. This is how we do the mapping. Fine. Right. You can see here employee class, right? We have you can see here employee class. So I have ID, first name, last name, and salary. And I have kept here table employee inside the Hibernate _DB database. Table name is employee. ID is the primary key. You see ID. Primary key name is same. Column name is first underscore name. Here it is first name, no underscore. Last underscore name is the column name. Here we have last name as a data member. And salary, both are same. And primary key over here is ID. So if ID is the primary key of my employee table, you can see here my employee table. Right now I have 10 records. So for this primary key, as you see the structure, I have given it as an auto increment. ID is the primary key. So to generate this value, now in the HBM file, in the HBM file, you see this is my HBM file. Class com.employee table employee. Meta is okay. This is just for the class description. It's just a comment. So if you don't want, you can delete it. No problem. ID is to generate the primary key value. I said name equal to ID. And I'm saying type. So this type is talking about type of the data members of your employee class, right? And column is giving you the column name. When I say generator, generator class generates the auto incremented or automatic value for your primary key. Here I have written the class native. There are other classes also, such as assigned and all. So it will take the values automatically. When we have primary key, at that time only we will use ID. For rest of the column, we'll use the tag property. Property. For example, first name, last name, and salary are the data member of my employee. First name, last name, and salary. This is class employee, which is mapped with the column first underscore name, last underscore name, and salary, right? And I'm specifying the type. Mind well, this is the type of your class data member, because column first underscore name is not having the type string. It is having the type varchar. We know that MySQL is having the type varchar. Yes or no? You can see the structure. First underscore name, last underscore name, varchar. Salary integer. So here, when in HBM file, I specify the type. I'm talking about type of Java type, the object data property type. So even we are doing the mapping, but as I said, Hibernate is more about being more programming oriented and less towards the database oriented, because it reduces the 90% work of the programmer in the terms of database. We will focus more on the coding only. So this type is talking about the Java type. Fine. Up till now, is it clear? Per application will have one CFG. Per application will have many HBM. That depends on how many classes you have, right? So you see here, generator, an element with the ID to generate the primary key values automatically. Class is the attribute of generator element, which could have some value such as native. When you say native, it will let the Hibernate pick the way it want to pick the identity or a sequence to create a primary key values, right? As well, we have property element to map a Java class properties with the name and attribute. Fine. And the last, which is the type attribute. So type attribute holds the Hibernate mapping type, and this mapping will convert Java to SQL data type. Fine. Is it clear? Is it clear? Any question, anyone? Up till now, any question? Yes or no? Any question, any doubt? Should I move forward? Should I move forward? Okay. Kirtan is saying no. What about other? I see many students in the meeting. Should I move forward? Okay. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Now, look, what I said is, I said you that when I am developing an Hibernate application, there will be as many HBM, as many Java objects, or as many POJOs are there. POJO, plain old Java object, which is your persistent Java class. The class whose object is going to be stored inside the database. And I gave you an example that for our college, there are more than 25 objects, right? Faculty, student, exam, fees, assignment, question bank, MCQs, attendance, lecture, lab, particular slot, right? Timetable, book in the library, membership, club. There are many things. Classroom. we have a classroom facility, we just do that, like we allocate the class to particular division, right? As well, we have complaint, suggestions. There are so many objects. So if in certain application, the number of objects are more, if I have 25 objects, I need to create 25 HBM. Agree? Yes or no? Because I said HBM Hibernate mapping dot XML maps your Java objects to your database table. So this is like a burden for the programmer. Yes or no? Because in future, the number of objects may increase in your application. So what if I remove the SVM file? I don't want to take this burden. I want to remove. I don't want to create SVM file. I want to remove it completely. So there is a solution in Hibernate. We call it as an annotation. We call it as a annotation. Have you heard about the annotation? Have you heard about the annotation ever? Have you used it? Yes or no? Have you used the annotation? Say yes or no. Have you used ever? You say no, then I'll give you the example you have already used. Annotation. Annotation informs your JRE, how to interpret that particular code line. Have you used it? Don't know? While creating an application in the NetBeans, we use @override. @override. So that @override is known as annotation. Do you recall that? Can you see this? This is filter example. Authentication filter. We said filter is an interface. So public class myFilter implements the filter. And filter interface is having three methods: init, do filter, and destroy. So here we are writing override, which is informing your container that this method is belonging to parent class. We are overriding it. This is called annotation, giving meaning to that line. We are explaining, or we are just exploring more like how it will be treated. So to avoid the burden of creating many HBM file, we can write the annotations instead of HBM files. So what we will do is, in our Pojo class, we'll add the annotations. Look at here. Hibernate annotation. Hibernate annotations are powerful way to provide the metadata. What is metadata? What is metadata? Data about data. We learn in the database that we call metadata, which represents the fact about other data. So annotations in Hibernate represents the metadata for object and relational table mapping, right? And these metadata will clubbed into the Pojo file, as I said you, along with the code of your persistent class, the class having the getter and setter method, the class whose object is going to be stored inside the data table. We will put this annotations over there. This will help the programmer to understand the table structure as well. At the same time, we'll be able to do the development, to do the coding related to it, right? Right? So there are flexibility that you should use either annotations or you can go with the XML based mapping. When I say XML based mapping, it means creating the HBM file, this one, to create this HBM file, right? This will increase the number of files in your code. Though the annotations are clubbed in the Pojo class, so no separate file is required, but still industry prefers to go with the HBM file because it gives the flexibility, right? Can you see that? Can you see that? If you're going to make your application portable to other EJB compilant ORM application, you must use annotations to represent the application's information. But if you want a greater flexibility in the sense like in future you want to change certain column name and all, instead of changing the code inside the Pojo file, you can just change the XML file. So for the flexibility point of view, you should use the XML based mapping, right? So that depends on the choice of developer, whether you want flexibility or you want less number of files in your code. Based on that, you can decide either to go with the annotations or to go with the XML based mapping, which is using your HBM file. So here you can see I have a employee class, the example which we discussed just before a few minutes. I have employee table, ID, primary key, auto increment, first name, default not null, last name, default null, right? First name and last name and salary are not compulsory. By default, it will be null if nothing is entered. And primary key is the ID. Now you see the class. See the class. Import java x.persistent.star. It means that this class, public class employee, is going to be saved inside the database. I said persistent means permanent. Now you see, this is the annotation. I have written @entity. You have learned entity relationship diagram. We call it as ER diagram in your DBMS. What ER diagram was doing? ER diagram provides you the entity relationship. How one entity or entity is any real world thing. It could be a bank account. It could be a person. It could be a student. It could be a teacher, right? So entities, we will map its property inside the table. So we can write @entity @table, name equal to employee. What does it mean? It means that public class employee is mapped with the table employee. Fine? Fine. Now you see here, I'm writing private integer ID. This is the data property or data member of class employee. But when I write @ID, @generated value, informing that this integer ID, private integer ID, is mapped with the primary key and it is auto incremented. So we are going to use the generated values. And I said the column with which this one is mapped is @column name equal to ID. That column's name is ID. Are you getting it? Says this is primary key. Generated value says that the value for this primary key will be automatically generated using generator class in your Java. And @column specifies that this data member of class employee is mapped with which column? Column name is ID, with the column name ID in the table. Is it clear what is annotation, everybody? Right? Is it clear? You can see here, @column, say name equal to first name. So it means that private string first name data variable or member or data member of class employee is mapped with the column first name. Similar way, variable last name is mapped with the column. What is annotation? Yes or no? Yes or no? Should I move forward?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you getting the annotations? Right? Now we don't require HBM if you are writing the annotations. Okay. Now how we can execute this? Okay, before this execution, let me just explain more about annotations. Just a second, I lost the connection, I guess. So @annotations is entity is annotation to the employee class, which mark that this is entity bin class. So it will have no argument constructor and it will be visible with the protected scope. @table specifies the detail of the table used to persist the entity. Persist means to save permanently the entity. Entity is our class, right? Table annotation specifies that. As well, we can go with the unique constraint, we can go with the schema and catalog, we can specify all this with the @table. ID for the primary key, right, which is a single field, or at times it could be the combination of multiple columns. Generated value will have the two properties such as strategy and generator class, right? It will automatically generate or determine the appropriate value for your primary key. Column mentions the column, will have name, length, nullable, and unique. We can give such properties if we want. Now, up till now, we have been clear that to develop an Hibernate application, when you want to go with the Hibernate application, the files which are required is, first, you required a POJO, which is also known as persistent Java bin class, right? And when I say persistent Java bin class, it means a class which is having only getter and setter method. Nothing else, only getter and setter methods, no business logic. As well, we require hibernate.configuration cfg.xml file. This is what we require to develop any Hibernate application. Third thing is optional because we may use the annotation. If we are using the annotations, then we will not have. Otherwise, we'll have any name employer product dot hbm.xml. Fine. So this is the mapping file. This is configuration file, right, which is explaining the dialect, URL, username, and password as well. Whatever class we mapped in HBM, its entry will be done. You see, we created a product class. And can you see this? Product class has been added inside your CFG file, mapping resource, product.hbm.xml. So whenever you keep on adding the HBM file, it will add on it in the mapping inside your CFG file. So this is optional because if I'm not using the HBM, it's fine. Instead of this, I would use the annotation in POJO class, right? In POJO class, right? That's why this one is optional, right? Right? Now, up till now, we have just mentioned the entities and relation. But what we want to do is the business logic. Right? So business logic, if we are going with a simple Java application that is desktop based, right? Or if it is web based, we'll require a Java class, right? We require a Java class for implementing the business logic, right? For implementing the business logic. Here we'll do the actual thing which we want. For example, there is a new employee. You want to add an employee to the employee table. We know that add employee is the insert query, right? So what we want to do, we want to write the business logic. Usually your Java class, which is having the business logic, will use all the objects which we discussed in Hibernate architecture. For example, session factory, configuration, right? Session, transaction, and query. These are the objects which we are going to use. With the help of these objects, either we will execute SQL or we will execute HQL queries, right? We will execute SQL or HQL query. Is it clear? What are the things which are required for Hibernate application development? We require a POJO class, which is a persistent class. right? Having only getter and setter method, which object of this class will save in the database. We require CFG, which will be one per application if you are using single database. We required HBM file. That depends how many objects you are maintaining. Per object, we will have one HBM file, which will map your class data property with the column name. We required the business logic to be written in a Java class, and in that Java class, we'll make use of the objects available in Hibernate architecture, which is configuration, session factory, session, transaction, query, etc. And with the help of these objects, we are going to execute either SQL or HQL query. Fine. So let us understand, first of all, what is HQL? What is HQL? Up till now, anyone has having doubt in any of this thing? Because we discuss all this thing except the HQL. Anyone having doubt? Should I move forward? Should I move forward? Yes or no? Am I audible, guys?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, see, HQL are Hibernate query language. HQL, Hibernate query language. Now, this is similar to SQL, except few difference. If you have read or if you have studied your database properly, you have studied that there could be object-oriented queries also. So, here HQL is an object-oriented query language. It works with the persistent object. It means with the POJO class object it will work, right? And its property. POJO class and its property, object and its property. It means that if I have a class employee, I can work upon the data members and methods related to class employee to write the SQL queries. SQL does not depend upon the table of database. Why? Because instead of table name, it makes use of class name to execute the query. Are you getting the point? What I'm saying is SQL is Hibernate query language. It is not a structured query language written for any database. It's a query language which is written using the persistent object and its property. It means that we're going to use the Java class data members and methods to write SQL queries. Fine? Fine? Usually, your SQL queries are converted into the conventional queries to perform the operation. And that's why we have dialect. Do you recall that we said that in CFG we have dialect property, and what a dialect property does is this property makes Hibernate generate the appropriate SQL for chosen database. Why it is doing so? Because we are writing the SQL query, which are a kind of methods of your Java. So if you want to execute the query to the targeted database, we mapped our database, our application with MySQL database. So even if we are writing in code SQL, in the background, we need to convert that SQL into the SQL so that MySQL database can understand it. So dialect does that. Dialect generates those queries. And when we mapped our application, dialect will be created automatically. Can you see that? Dialect. We want to see the creation of application one more time. Let us create. You can go with the web application, or you can go with the simple application. Hibernate 1. Give next. Choose the server. Give next. Select here Hibernate. It is asking you to make the connection. Go with the new connection. Right? Select the database type, MySQL, right? Give next, give next. and you can choose a database. Let me see what all databases I have. I have my MU database. Let me make the connection with that. So I am going to use localhost 3306. Database name is my underscore MU. Username is root, no password. Test the connection. Connection succeed. You can see JDBC URL is here. When I give next, right, and I can give finish. Can you see here database dialect, right? And this is the connection. So this dialect, it is converting your SQL queries into the appropriate SQL queries. Fine. Is it clear, guys? Any question or any doubt? Any question, any doubt, anyone?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So it will set these properties automatically. Can you see this is automatically created configuration, and you can have the further properties. Yeah, so I was talking about SQL. SQL will be converted into the conventional queries. The major difference is these are the case sensitive. Up till now, we have used SQL, and when you were giving the table name in the code, few people were writing, right, select star from students. Few were writing like select star from students. And I said, it's okay, it's fine. It doesn't make any difference because SQL is case insensitive. Uppercase and lowercase are same. But here, SQL is the query which is supported by Hibernate framework. And Hibernate is the framework written in Java. And Java is case sensitive. And that's why SQL queries are case sensitive. You cannot change the uppercase and lowercase. You have to use the way it is given. Okay. Now you see here. What are the advantages? SQL can perform bulk of the operation at a time. So many queries we can execute. SQL supports object-oriented features. So queries can now be inherited. We can have polymorphism and we can have association and all, right? So instead of returning the plain data, what do you do when you write select star from students? You will achieve plain data as a result. But now when you will use the SQL, instead of plain data, you will retrieve an object. And this object can be easily accessed and programmed. Fine. SQL is database independent. No dependency on the database. It is same for all the database. I said there are more than 23 active database and more than 50 database management system in the market. SQL Server, Derby, MySQL, SQL Yog, right? IBM Bluemix. There are so many database system in the market. So when you're writing the query in SQL, you do not have to worry what is the backend, what is the database, because your dialect will convert it. Fine. So SQL, same SQL query can be executed on different databases. Fine. These are the advantages. If we compare SQL versus SQL, SQL stands for Hibernate Query Language. SQL stands for Structured Query Language. Structure of SQL is similar to SQL, but the main difference is SQL make use of class name instead of the table name. You were writing the query for select star for from students in JDBC, in Servlet, in JSP, you wrote like that, where you were writing the table name. Now to write the SQL queries, we'll not write the table name. Instead, we'll write the class name, persistent class name to write this query. SQL is object-oriented query language, whereas SQL is not. SQL is database dependent, whereas SQL is database independent. And one more point, which I have forgot to add over here, which is SQL is can you tell me the difference? SQL is case sensitive, whereas SQL is case insensitive. Clear? Clear with the difference? Everyone. Any doubt, any query? Are you clear with this difference? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay then. Okay. So this is the major difference. Now, look at the queries. These are the SQL queries. These are the queries, not the methods. We have SQL as an interface, and with the help of SQL interface, we can execute the query. Execute update is used to update or delete the query. Right? List returns the result of a relation list. So it means list is the select query. Public query set first result, integer row number. It specifies the row number where you want to go particularly. So if you are writing 5, it will go to the row number 5. It will set it as a first record. Set max result, integer roll number, specifies the number of record to be retrieved from a table or a relation. Suppose you are writing 10 or you are writing 100, then it will give you the 100 records. Fine. These are the SQL queries. These are the most common SQL queries. Suppose you want to list all the records. That is select star from table. If you want to write select star from table, here you can go with this. Here you can go with this. You can see the query. We have a query object. I said we are going to use in a business logic the query object. So I'm creating an object of query. I said is equal to session dot create query from employee. This will be act like select star from table name. But over here from EMP, here EMP is my class. Here persistent class name is EMP. So this is not the table, this is class. Even if you're writing the class, we have already mapped the class with the table. So it will took all those records from that table. Even if you are writing the class name, it will give you the result from the table. So we are writing query.list. So this will give you the select star from the particular table, right? It will return us a list object. So we are assigning it to the list object. Suppose you want to go with the pagination. Pagination means you want only the record number 5 to 10, right? Again, I'm writing query is equal to session.create query from employee, where EMP is my class name. It's my persistent class or a POJO class. I'm saying query.set first result 5, query.set max result 10. So it will give me query.list. Query.list will give me the record number 5 to 10. This is called paging or pagination. Fine? Clear? Suppose I want to delete. I can write query is equal to session.create query delete from employee, where employee is my class name, where ID is equal to 100. ID is my data member of the class employee. This is not the SQL query. This is HQL query. I can write query.execute update, right? So here EMP is not the table name, it's a class name, and ID is not the column, it's a data variable. Clear? Clear, everybody? Any question, any doubt? Yes or no? Any question, any
Yes,
doubt?
ma'am.
Okay. Now look at here. Look at my employee table. I have 10 records. Taru, person AA, person CC, Taru, Mary, Sushmita, employee 1, 2, and 3. Total 10 records are there. What I want to do here is, let us discuss the application 1. When you will create the first application, your CFG file will be created. Fine? Your CFG file will be created. And you can have appropriate mapping of your table. I shown you how to create the mapping. What I have over here is, I have an employee class with ID, first name, last name, and getter and setter method. This is my Pojo class. Now, look at the business logic. Let me show you in a simple file. Look at the business logic. This magnifier is giving the trouble. So, I have created a class manage employee with the main method, which is there inside the package com. I have necessary imports, java.util.iterator, java.util.list, Hibernate exception. We said we need configuration, org.hibernate.cfg.configuration, org.hibernate.session factory, org.hibernate.session, and org.hibernate.transaction. If you recall, I said you that we will use all these objects: configuration, session factory, session, transaction, and query. Right? So these are those objects. Fine. Now look at, this is my class manage employee. What I'm doing is, I have taken a private static session, which is a class session factory, and creating an object named as factory. Right? Now inside the main method, this is my simple application of Java. I'm putting a try catch block, and I'm trying to create the session factory object. So I said session factory object factory equal to new configuration dot config dot build a session factory. It will create an factory object, right? Now you see in catch, in case if we are not able to create the object, we will have the exception. So we just printed that exception message. Now for my manage class, manage employee class, I'm creating an object me equal to new manage employee. We're in the same class, we're creating an object. I'm creating three objects, me dot add employee. So add employee is my method. So I'm calling the add employee method 3 times. Fine. And then I have me.list employees. To retrieve all the inserted employees, I am having the list employee. Look at the code of add employee. Public integer, this is the wrapper class object integer, add employee takes 3 arguments: first name, last name, and salary. I'm saying the session is equal to factory.open session. We said session is the lighter weighted object, which can be created with the help of heavy weighted object session factory. So with the help of session factory object, which we created previously, I'm using factory.open session. I'm creating a transaction object tx. I said null. Integer ID, right now null. Integer is a wrapper class. Basic data type of core Java can be treated as an object, and that's called the wrapper class. You learn this in core Java, right? Now, I'm trying to insert. This is my add employee method. So I'm trying to insert. To insert a record, I need insert into table name and column values. But we are working with the Hibernate, so I created a transaction object. In the try block, I said transaction object tx is equal to session dot begin transaction. I created an object of a Pojo class, employee, object employee equal to new employee. I'm giving 3 arguments. What are these 3 arguments? These three arguments are there in the main method during the function call, right? So if I change the name, let me change it like I'm saying John, I'm saying Janardhan, and I'm saying Joy. Right? These are the three employee names which I have changed. Now this thing will be replaced here in the, because I'm calling, right? So this is replaced here. Now you see what you're doing is you're creating an object of employee class, and employee is an POJO class. Employee is an POJO class which is having the parameterized constructor. So when you create an object, these value will be given to that. I'm saying now employee ID, which will be a return integer, session dot save employee. Save Hibernate query. Save is an Hibernate query. Save is doing the insert. Insert of what? Insert of the object employee. Object employee is mapped with the table employee. That's why when you save the object, it will do the insert. It will do the insert query, right? If everything is fine, we are committing the transaction. Otherwise, we are catching the Hibernate exception. We said if transaction is not null, then tx.rollback, which we should do undo, and we are printing the error stack, e.print stack. E is exception of Hibernate. Finally, if everything goes well, we are doing session.close and we are returning the employee ID, which is the automatically generated value of your primary key. This is your add employee method. This is your add employee method. Can you see that entire method? Right? This is add employee method. Fine? Clear, everybody? Any doubt, any query? Right? Now you see here, this is list employee. Read all the employees. Again, session object, session is equal to factory.open session, transaction null. Inside the try, transaction is equal to session.begin transaction. List employees, because select star from table will give you the entire list. So I said session.create query from employee. Over here, employee is my POJO class. When I say create query dot list, it will execute the select star from the table and it will return me a list object. So I have created an object of list as an employees. Employees. I'm using the iterator class, which you learn in your core Java. I said iterator class object iterator is equal to employees.iterator, iterator.has next until there are records. What you are doing is you keep on creating the objects. This is for loop. So this is continuously going to create the object for each row because each row is one object. Each row is one object. Fine. So we have employee.getName, first name, last name, and employee.salary. Fine. And finally, we say transaction.commit. Fine. So this is for the listing. In case if we have exception, we do rollback. Otherwise, finally, we'll close the session. Is it clear? Yes or no? Right? Right? This is my database instance. Okay. And if I run this, I have added few records, John, Jani, and Janardhan. So let us see. John, Joy, and Janardhan. I try to add. Okay, I created that product and all. I don't want that. So let me delete it. Can you see this? This is the output. Let us see here. Browse. Can you see now I have John, Janardhan and Joy in the table. So it has saved the object as an SQL query. Clear? Right? So here I had HBM file. But suppose I don't want HBM file. You can see here. If I don't want HBM file, in that case, what I can do is in the source only I'll keep the CFG. Fine. There is no mapping file. Can you see this? Here we have no mapping file. Whereas here in the previous example, we bought the HBM file. Now I want to remove it. So same application I created with the annotation where I have not written the HBM file. And you can see here, this is my employee with the annotations. @table, entity, @ID, generated value, column and all. Fine. And same thing I have written for the managed employee. Right? Here I'm going to give you the values. Right? And I'll run the file. Can you see that it has an added? So it is annotations. It is through the annotation. You can see here, browse, and I have a few more records. Shray, I'm not listening to you because I'm left over with only one topic. That's why. So this is Kajal, Twinkle and Taranum coming from annotation. We don't have HBM file for that. Now discussing the last topic, that is delete and update query. You can see here, same class, annotations and everything is same. We have learned insert, update and delete. Now this is for add employee. This is for list employee. You can see this is for update. What I'm doing for update is, suppose I want to update the salary. So I'm taking employee ID and salary in the employee update. Session factory, factory.open session, transaction null, trying, session.begin transaction, and we said employee object of the Pojo class equal to session.get. To update the record, first we need to get it. So we said class, employee.class, employee ID. And now we are using employee.set salary. Set salary, Pojo class, setter is the method. And I'm saying session.update employee. So it will update the employee table. Fine. Similar way for delete employee, I'm taking the employee ID as argument. Session object, factory.open session, transaction null, try, session.begin transaction, creating the employee object of Pojo class, session.get, employee.class, employee ID, and I say delete, session.delete. When I'm saying delete object, it will delete the row. Fine? Are you getting that? Right? So if you look at the main method, here, we are deleting and updating. We are doing everything. You see, person AA, BB, and CC, Ali, Das, and Paul. Then we are deleting the employee ID one. That is person AA. We will delete. Then we are updating salary instead of 1,000. We'll do the 5,000. Then we are deleting employee ID 2. That is person BB. Fine. Fine. So that's what you can do with the help of the Hibernate. So you can have insert, update and delete. You can see person BB has been deleted, and for person AA, we have updated the salary. Fine. The same thing will be reflected in the database. Fine. So this is the CRUD operation using SQL query in your Hibernate. Can you see person BB added and deleted, and for person CC, we have updated the salary. Fine. Up till now, any query or questions? If we
Yes,
recall
ma'am.
what we learned today, we learned ORM, mapping, annotations, right? We said to remove the HBM, we have annotations. And we learn HQL. We learn what are the advantages and what is the difference. We learn how we can use different methods to implement the SQL query. Fine, right? And that's it. And that's it. That's unit number 6. Introduction to Hibernate, architecture of Hibernate, object relation mapping with Hibernate using XML files, CFG and HBM, right? Then we have, just a second guys. Then we have learned about annotations. Give me a second. I don't want to take a chance. You will say like other faculty. I don't know. Our teacher has not taught that. ORM with Hibernate, Hibernate annotations, SQL queries, and today we seen the CRUD operations. None of the point is left over from my end. I'm done with unit number 6 with fair speed. Okay. Look at the practical list. Study and implement Hibernate. We seen a select operation and add employee. Studied and implement annotation. We seen one example. We remove HBM and we wrote at the rate. And use SQL for insert, update, and delete. The last example which we discussed. So we're done with the practical list 5 also. You can refer this video. I'm going to upload it. And if you have any technical query, you can raise your query anytime. Fine. I suggest try to run these programs. To run these programs, you require the database and a table. And I'll upload this. And you see here, I have mentioned what database you required. You required Hibernate underscore DB. So create a database, Hibernate underscore DB. And you can copy this query and you run in SQL and then insert few record. All this example will run very well. So this is how you can refer it and you can prepare for your final and mid exam. Fine. So that's it from my end. Do you have any query, any question? Anyone of you? You can look at the syllabus and if you have any query, you can ask now or you can read it anytime during the reading vacation or before your mid, you can raise your query. No problem. Fine. So we are stopping our discussion here. Next extra session will be soon, and in that we will learn the 8th unit, JSF, which is very small like your Hibernate. Don't miss it. With a small discussion, you'll get so many things to be learned for the final examination. So that's it from my end. I've seen so many no, okay, clear, so that's fine.